Chapter 14. William Billy Richards. William stared at the key sitting in his palm, willing his mind to clear and his body to cooperate. He needed to escape, but wasn't sure if this was some kind of test. The doctor had silenced the beeping machine before she exited the room. Now it wouldn't alarm when he disconnected the sensors from his body. Why would the doctor help him escape? What did she gain? Sleep tried to overtake him, claiming him for its own, but he reached down deep, mustering the strength to shove it aside. The time had come to act, not a time to rest. He could sleep later, after he made things right. He found the bed's controls, moving himself into an upright position. This limited movement caused the room to spin and his stomach to churn. William closed his eyes, steadying himself until the ill feeling passed. After a few minutes, the room ceased moving. William concentrated on removing the handcuffs. The task felt like it took hours to his confused mind. Between his injuries and the fact that his left hand wasn't his dominant hand, the attempt to unlock the handcuffs looked comical. Cables from sensors and tubing from IV lines tangled his left arm before he stretched it halfway across his body. William yanked at the snarl of wires and tubing holding his arm back, dropping the key. He cursed his clumsiness. Luckily, it landed on the bed, and a one-handed search recovered the missing key. After detangling his left arm, he took a deep, calming breath, inserting the key into the lock by his right wrist. A firm twist, and his right arm was free from the bed rail. He rubbed the red ring where the handcuff had marked his skin. William swung his feet over the side of the bed after gaining his freedom. His bare feet touched the icy tiled floor. The hospital room swirled anew, pulling him toward the floor, face first. He grabbed the bed's handrail, arresting his fall, waiting for his equilibrium to return. Once the feeling passed, he let his eyes roam the room, sizing up his next move. William discovered a typical hospital room with an adjustable bed, a rolling table, one bedside chair, an open door leading to a bathroom, and a small storage cabinet. The wired telephone and flat-screen TV were notably missing. Small details made the room a prison cell instead of a comfortable place to recover. He knew the hospital Johnny wouldn't hide his escape, so he headed toward the closet. William hoped to find the clothes he wore back at the hospital, behind the thin door. In their place, he found a clean set of scrubs. Not what he had hoped for, but a better choice than the hospital gown he wore. As he grabbed the clothing from the shelf, something fell on the floor. Someone left it under the scrubs. William leaned forward to pick up the rectangular object, falling on the floor for his effort. The room swayed like a boat in a storm, and it took several minutes for the tempest to pass. As the room steadied, he picked up the item, discovering a hospital ID and a magnetic key card. His caretaker doctor had provided him with the tools to escape. Somehow, someday, he would have to thank her for the help. The ID card read, John Woods, orderly, secure floor, and had a black and white photo of such poor quality that it could have been him or 1,000 other men between 25 and 50. Perfect. While sitting on the floor, he discovered a pair of cheap sneakers on the bottom shelf of the cabinet. They were half a size too big, but they do the job. William struggled to dress, hoping the flimsy disguise would let him escape the hospital before the police discovered his absence. He was the only one capable of saving Kate. Way had his own set of skills, but they didn't involve the application of brutal violence like William's. He drew himself to his feet, clinging to the closet while the room wobbled back and forth. It took less time for the motion to stop this time, so William took this as a positive sign. After letting go of the cabinet, he took 3 steps before grabbing the bed to keep from falling. Only a few more steps to the door. He had almost escaped. Well, not really, but William needed to remain hopeful. The door frame became his next life preserver in the stormy sea that his damaged head had turned the solid floor into. William took several deep breaths, willing the dizziness to pass, and it dissipated a little faster with each unsteady step. How would he be able to fight? Best to deal with one problem at a time. His hand paused over the door handle, wondering if it would be locked from the outside and all this effort would be for nothing. He pushed down, and the door opened a crack, allowing William to peek down the hallway. The room was in the middle of a hall, with a nurse's station in the center of a series of hallways configured in a wheel and spoke orientation. A lone police officer chatted up a pretty nurse at the nurse's station with his back to William's room. He glanced down the opposite side of the hallway, finding a door with a red glowing exit sign above it. The door had a pad for a magnetic lock next to it, and William remembered the key card he held. With any luck, it would open the door, ushering him to freedom. Could he be this lucky? He drew the door back into the room, opening it wide without a sound. Now came the hard part. Stroll like a normal person out into the hallway. Those were the instructions his mind called out, but his movements resembled the staggering of a drunk after closing time. The exit door drew closer, and William hadn't puked his guts out or collapsed on the floor. Pretty smooth escape so far. A red light glowed on the keypad, and the door wouldn't budge. William waved the keycard in front of the reader, hearing the lock click while a yellow light illuminated. He reached for the handle, feeling it turn in his hand. As the door opened, an alarm sounded at the nurse's station, causing the police officer to turn toward William. "Hey, you! Stop right there!" So much for a simple escape. William bolted through the door as fast as his weak legs could carry him. He didn't slow until he reached the sign reading floor number 1. This door opened, depositing him into the back of the emergency room. His eyes swept the chaos of the busy ER, looking for the nearest exit. The only way out was through the ambulance entrance, so William hobbled off toward freedom. At the halfway point, he heard a flustered voice call out, "Orderly! It's about time! Take this patient for x-rays! Wait! Are you hard of hearing? Get back here, orderly, or I'm going to report you!" William kept walking as the woman's voice turned angry, screaming after him. He felt the cop would be an easier fight than dealing with this overworked nurse Ratchet. The voice continued on with more threats, but he ignored them. As he reached the ambulance doors, they burst open and 2 paramedics wheeled a stretcher inside. "Help us with this patient, orderly!" Wow. Never get a job as a hospital orderly, because everyone bosses you around. William ignored this request, like the last, stumbling outside to freedom. He had no plan, no transportation, and no money. The way he was walking, the cops would pick him up as a homeless drunk before he made it a block. Too bad he hadn't planned better than this. William staggered 3 or 4 blocks away from the hospital. He lost count of the cross streets, having no clear destination in mind. Just stay away from the police. If he found somebody willing to let him use their phone, he would call away. His wandering mind distracted him as he continued to move, so he didn't hear the car stop at the curve. The window rolled down and he heard a familiar voice. "William, get in!" At first he thought the entire ordeal might be a fever dream, but then he recognized Way behind the wheel of the hoopty Nissan Sentra they bought when they arrived in Rocky Mount. He opened the door, collapsing into the passenger seat, realizing just how exhausted the escape had made him. The pain medication had worn off, and a steady throb from the wound to his shoulder and the blow to his head replaced the euphoria. His eyes wanted to close, but he forced them open. "Where's Kate? We need to save her." "Easy, buddy. You look like crap. She's safe. I got her in a motel and we're headed there now. You need some rest. That water is for you." Way pointed to a water bottle and a cup holder, and William didn't know how thirsty he was until his eyes settled on the bottle. He took the water, drinking greedily from it. Way maneuvered through traffic while William sat thinking. The car was about 10 years old and had 150,000 miles on it, but it still ran strong. Within minutes, they reached the on-ramp for Interstate 91 North, and Way edged the car up to 65 miles per hour. "Thanks for picking me up." "How did you rescue Kate?" "It wasn't me exactly. I ended up calling the brothers, and they recovered her." "What? I specifically told you I didn't want Young and Mikado involved. This was my mission. I didn't want your help either, by the way, but you wouldn't shut up until I gave in." "William, stop! If I hadn't helped you, Kate would be dead and you'd be in police custody. How would that have helped? Sometimes you need to accept help. Isn't that the Nyan way?" As usual, Way was right, but William would never admit it. At least not until he calmed down. He loved all 3 men like brothers, and now they were mixed up in his mess from his past. Being the hero always looked easy on TV, but William struggled with it in real life. He reclined his seat, and he let sleep overtake him.